I could pitch like that. Says I am the greatest, that is understood, but I didn't know that I could pitch that good. In April of 1775 now, this great nation started coming alive. Old King George didn't like it one bit, so he proceeded to throw him a royal fit. Now he told his generals, better get them back in line, make them pay my taxes now, America is mine. Stop that independence talk before it gets around, or it's gonna be hard to hold them rebels down. Well, the good thing he was talking about the men like Paul Revere and the Minutemen who held the dreams of independence near. They kept their eyes on the British, they watched them day and night. They knew pretty soon they'd get their chance to stand and fight. Then they knew that the British could be moving any hour, so they arranged a lookout in a north end church tower. Well, Paul was watching when that tower came alight, and he started on his midnight ride. Well, he jumped on his horse, who started humming. He screamed out his warning, redcoats are coming. Better get your guns and your fighting breeches on. They're coming and they're 800 strong. Yeah, next morning at Concord and Lexington town, the spirit of freedom turned them redcoats around. So when we remember the men who made this nation we have here, then let's remember Paul Revere. Yeah, let's remember Paul Revere.
Welcome to the Salvation Army's Need Knows No Season. Please take your seat. Our program will begin in a few minutes.
America, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on me and crowned that good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. fields of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Okay, from the travel music stuff. Gotcha.
Welcome to the Salvation Army's Need Knows No Season. Our program is just moments away.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. Yeah, this land was made for you and me. As I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of the Diamond Desert, and all around me heard voices shouting, well, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Gulf Stream forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is my land, this land is your land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Shining, the tide came rolling, the wheat fields raising, and the dust clouds rolling. The fog was lifting, a voice came chanting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seat. We will begin our program in just 1 minute. Welcome to the Salvation Army's Need Knows No Season. We are honored to have you with us today as the Salvation Army celebrates 150 years of history, heritage, and heroes. Our program begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hi everybody, I'm Jack Hanna, and I'm wishing the Salvation Army a happy birthday. Thanks for doing the most good for 150 years.
Greetings all, Clark Kellogg here, proud Central Ohio resident, wishing the Salvation Army a happy birthday. For 150 years, the Salvation Army has been doing the most good, servicing those in our community in need with care, compassion, and the love of Christ.
Hi, I'm Cindy Monroe, and I wanted to wish the Salvation Army a happy 150th anniversary.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Happy to join Cindy to say happy 150th anniversary, Salvation Army. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy birthday for 150 years, Salvation Army, so proud. I'm Mayor Michael B. Coleman. I want to thank you for all your service and helping people over these past 150 years. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Salvation Army.
Go Bucks!
Happy birthday to the Salvation Army. 150 years of compassion, brotherhood, fraternity, and love. Thank you very much. Happy birthday.
Please welcome to the stage one of Columbus's most recognized personalities from WBNS 10 TV, Angela Pace.
Ooh, little musical patriotic walk-on music. Thank you. I love a man in uniform, and a man in uniform who can strum a guitar. Okay, we need to talk later, okay? All right. How y'all doing? Say, fine, Angela. How y'all doing? Thank you very much. Welcome to the 9th annual Salvation Army's Need Knows No season. It has been my distinct pleasure and honor to host the Salvation Army's event each year. It has taken me 9 years to get it right. Need Knows No season. Say it 3 times real fast, you'll know what I mean. This year, the Salvation Army celebrates 150 years of doing the most good, as you just saw in that video with some of my very favorite people, Jungle Jack Hanna, Mayor Michael B. Coleman, and Coach Urban Meyer. Today, and Russell Brand, who knew? You know, how fun was that to have him pop up? Today, we are celebrating history, heritage, and heroes. You know, the Salvation Army has a long history of helping military personnel while overseas and right here in their own communities. Need really does have no season because every month of the year, you generously supported basic needs in our community and helped our local Salvation Army to raise money and, more importantly, to raise hope from the more than 109,000 people the Army serves every year right here. Yes, you should applaud that. That's phenomenal. And it is because of all of you here that all this is possible. And of course, and this is the commercial time, all of our sponsors who are here year after year to help. We especially want to thank our presenting sponsor, the Edwards Foundation. We want to thank our premier sponsors, American Electric Power, Plascolite, Stanley Steamer, the Seamer Family Foundation, and my new best friends, 31 Gifts. Our media sponsors for today's event are the Columbus Dispatch and, ta-da, WBNS 10 TV. Our honoree reception was sponsored by Fifth Third Bank, and our leader sponsors, Advanced Drainage Systems, Atlas Butler Heating and Cooling, Columbia Gas of Ohio, Community Choice Financial, Flower Galaxy, LA Veneria Incorporated, Marquis Nationwide Insurance, Plant Moran, and Worthington Industries. We want to thank all of our sponsors for their commitment to the Salvation Army. A lot of repeat supporters there. We are so fortunate to have so many people dedicated to the Salvation Army right here in Central Ohio. One of those dedicated volunteers is with us today. He is the Senior Vice President for Marketing for Nationwide, and I just found this out, he's a real big shot. He is the chair of the National Advisory Board of the Salvation Army. Please welcome to the stage, Bill Burke. Bill? Do I have to like curtsy to you now? Thanks, Bill.
Hey, everybody. As the National Advisory Board of the Salvation Army, this time of year is always exciting for us. In just a few weeks, Salvation Army Red Kettles will appear in tens of thousands of locations throughout the country. The Red Kettle campaign helps to provide toys for kids, coats for the homeless, food for the hungry, and countless social service programs year-round. This year, the Salvation Army in Central Ohio will be launching its first ever online Red Kettle campaign. This can be your own personal kettle, a way for you to help millions in need by raising donations through email and social networking. More details will be shared in the coming weeks. And today, I am honored to help welcome the new leaders of the Salvation Army in Central Ohio, Major Stephen and Deborah Ashcraft. They have served as Salvation Army officers for 30 years. They have spent 11 years in Lexington, Kentucky, where they oversaw an 162-bed emergency shelter with comprehensive services, a Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club, an early learning center, a summer day camp, as well as food pantries and clothing centers in 3 counties. Past appointments provided Majors Ashcraft with the opportunity to oversee the construction of 3 Army facilities, expand a senior citizen center, and start a program for first-time juvenile offenders. In addition, their service has provided pastoral care for volunteers and first responders for large disasters, such as the September 11th attack on the World Trade Center. So let's welcome back to Ohio, Buckeye-born, Major Deborah and Stephen Ashcraft, the Salvation Army's area coordinators in Central Ohio.
Debbie and I feel a tremendous amount of gratitude to each and every person here today for your support, your donations, and the interest that you have in the Salvation Army. And your interest is what helps the officers, staff of the Salvation Army in Central Ohio accomplish so much for our brothers and sisters who are in need in our community. We heard so many great things about Columbus before we arrived here this past summer, and now we know why. Columbus is a very giving and loving community, and we are very pleased to be part of the Central Ohio Salvation Army, which helps people in need through ministries, that bring hope, compassion, strength, and faith by offering long-term solutions to problems of homelessness, addiction, low literacy, unemployment, and poverty. The advisory board of the Salvation Army, led by Chair Stephen Zonars, is the backbone to the Salvation Army's work here in Greater Columbus. This is one of the most dedicated group of volunteers that we have ever had the opportunity to work with. And I'd ask the members of our advisory board to please stand for a moment so that we can recognize your wonderful commitment to the Salvation Army. Today, you're going to hear about the Salvation Army's history, heritage, and heroes. Since its founding, the Salvation Army has been uniquely tied to the traditional armies by providing support and comfort to those in uniform. The Salvation Army has since become much more involved by sponsoring war drives, volunteering in hospitals, and assisting during crisis, including the 9/11 terrorist attacks. By renewing our commitment to those who have served us, we are doing the most good. And I would like to take an opportunity to recognize all of the people here with us today who have served in any branch of the military. Would you please stand for a moment so that we can recognize your service to our country? The Salvation Army remains faithful to its commitment to share God's love by serving others in His name without discrimination. By God's grace and with your support, we will continue to make Columbus a better place. The Salvation Army will continue to help families get to the point in their lives where they move beyond needing safety net services and have a pathway out of poverty through work and education. Now Debbie will share with us our invocation.
Will you please pray with me? Our gracious Heavenly Father, we bow before you this afternoon with hearts filled with thanksgiving. We are grateful for who you are and for the beautiful way that you provide for our needs individually and the way that you provide for the needs of the Salvation Army. You are the source of love. You are the giver of good gifts. And I want to say thank you for your gifts gathered in this room, people who have given of their volunteer service and their monetary support so that the work of the Salvation Army can go forth. We thank you, Father. We pray your special blessing on each one and on those who support us who are not here with us today, for your work could not go forth without their gifts. We pray, Father, that you will bless our time today and that we would leave with a renewed sense of passion for serving others. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much, Major Steve, Major Debbie. I think we ought to give them a round of applause. This is their first Knows No season. So how about a Columbus welcome for them? Thank you, thank you. And also, I neglected to thank the color guard that brought out our flags, posted our flags, and our very handsome musicians. This is Sergeant Lynch. Which one is Sergeant Lynch? Sergeant Lynch and Master Sergeant Smith providing our background music right here. Thank you very much, officers. We appreciate that. And the national anthem, as presented and sung, or as we say in my neighborhood when somebody really does it, sanged by Judge Kimberly Cocroft. So another round of applause for Judge Cocroft and her presentation of the national anthem. Now, I know some of you started eating before your food was prayed over. Every year I tell you the same thing. Some of you listen, some of you don't. But as you begin enjoying your meal now that it's been blessed, I want to tell you to please think about a donation amount that you would like to have doubled by our very generous sponsors, a great matching gift opportunity that we're going to tell you a little bit more about later. And I am sure that already you have noticed the commemorative 150th anniversary Salvation Army tote at your seat. Those have been generously donated by the good folks at 31 Gifts. So please enjoy your lunch. We'll be back to continue our program in just a few minutes.
Since 1902, the Marconi Wireless Telegraph Company of London, England, prepares its first transatlantic message. It will be relayed around the world. Transmission time for each is limited.
Stand by for wireless telegraph message from General William Booth.
William Booth, founder of the Salvation Army, sends one word.
I'm Walter Cronkite, here to tell you the story of one of America's favorite charities, the Salvation Army. Have you wondered who these people are? This Salvation Army? I did, and this is what I found. I guess people at the Salvation Army are pretty much like all the rest of us. At least I'd like to think that. What is it about this organization that makes it, as they say, America's favorite charity? It prides itself on having a reputation for caring. From the Army's very beginning, its members and its workers have believed theirs is not a job, but a commitment. This Army's mission is summarized in a single word: others. The year is 1865. The American Civil War is quickly approaching its tortuous end. Lincoln has delivered his magnificent second inaugural, urging malice toward none and charity for all. In Britain, William Booth, a 36-year-old Methodist minister whose wife, Catherine, was pregnant with their fourth child, resigned his position as pastor of a comfortable church and aimed the thrust of his ministry at the wretched poverty of London's East End. Thus was born the Salvation Army, and on Christmas Eve, the only present in the Booth household was delivered by Catherine, a baby daughter, Evangeline, destined to extend her father's ministry and spread the joy of Christmas around the world.
Wow, that's pretty incredible, isn't it, to hear vintage footage of Walter Cronkite, Uncle Walter, telling the story of the Salvation Army. Even in its early years, the Salvation Army had an incredible impact on our country. Eva spends it all, the New York headlines trumpeted in April of 1906. Eva is now the national commander of the Salvation Army in America. San Francisco has just experienced a deadly earthquake and fire which ravishes the entire city with death and destruction everywhere. The commander, as Eva liked to be called, took more than $4 million. That's the Salvation Army's entire available resource back in 1906 to the devastated city of San Francisco and spent it in relief of human suffering and pain. When challenged by the press, all she replied was, "God will provide." The record reveals that he did indeed. To put into perspective, $4 million of 1906 dollars would be worth, do the math, $105,263,157.89 in 2015. Now, with this story alone, you can see the Salvation Army has been changing lives and doing the most good since its inception. Now, on to more current history, which includes food. You may have been wondering why you have an incredibly delicious donut as dessert today. There is actually a rich history between the tasty donut treats in the Salvation Army, so much so that the Salvation Army actually started National Donut Day back in 1938. I celebrate it with a dozen glazed every single year. During World War I, Eva Booth sent young men and women with the troops into the lines, bringing food and care and a little touch of home. Salvation Army donut lassies, who were called donut girls, made fresh, complimentary donuts for American soldiers. Two lassies cleverly thought to fry the donuts made from very limited ingredients on hand in soldiers' helmets. Now, I don't cook at all, but even I know that's just wrong. The scent of fresh baked donuts permeated the air and drew homesick soldiers, bringing comfort and peace in the midst of war. The donut girls also provided writing supplies and stamps and offered a clothes mending service to the soldiers in battle. The tradition continued as the Donut Girls again served soldiers in World War II and in the Vietnam War. You ask any veteran, and it's likely that they remember the Salvation Army Donut Lassies and these delicious reminders of home.
When the World War II began, my husband Bob joined the Navy. At that time, we were only dating. When he came home to Ohio on leave, we were married. I was only 18. Bob was initially stationed in California, so after we got married, we got on a train to take us from Ohio all the way to California. The train was almost entirely made up of servicemen. Only a few of them had families on board. It was hot and crowded, a very uncomfortable way to travel across the country. The only time we ate was when representatives from the Salvation Army would get on at stops to pass out apples and Spam sandwiches. It doesn't sound good, but they were delicious. I'll never forget how the Salvation Army took care of us.
Nothing like a yummy Spam sandwich. The Salvation Army realizes that aiding our military while they fulfill their commitments isn't enough. Ohio's homeless veterans make up roughly 10% of the homeless in our communities. The Salvation Army works with individual veterans or veteran families that are homeless or in housing crisis to get them into permanent housing. Once a veteran is housed, Salvation Army staff meet with them in their home to make and achieve goals that will result in their long-term stable housing. Now, some of the services that they offer are job searches, connection to VA and community benefits, connection to community resources, rent and deposit assistance, moving costs, car repairs, household goods like beds, sheets, towels, pots and pans, child care, utility assistance, connection to counseling for mental health or substance abuse, very important in these cases, and advocating with landlords and employers if any problems happen to arise. Salvation Army staff meet with veterans for 3 to 5 months, but this time can fluctuate depending on what the veterans' needs are. The goal is to have program participants remain successful in their housing.
I remember the Salvation Army while serving in Vietnam with the United States Army. They were always there with some extra nourishment and with hope. Little did I know that decades later, the Salvation Army would help me avoid homelessness. I never thought I would need help. I was always able to make my own living. But when you get up into your 70s, things change. Between disability and pension benefits, I have about $1,000 per month. Somehow I make it stretch and pay rent, buy groceries, make my car insurance payment, and pay for gas. But by the end of the month, barely a nickel remains. My life took a serious turn when I was moving into a new home last winter. Confusion over terms of my lease forced me to move out of my place. I had to pay rent at the old place while trying to scrape together first month's rent and a deposit for a new place. If it weren't for the Salvation Army helping me out, I would have ended up on the street. It was December, and I feared the worst. But the Salvation Army helped me with a deposit I needed to move. I didn't have a bed, and the Salvation Army even helped me find one. These days, I'm sleeping soundly. It's made a difference in my attitude. I can now focus on my blessings, not my challenges. All I can say is, the Salvation Army helped me. They saved my life.
We are very fortunate to have Dr. Peter Mansour as our featured presenter. And to introduce him is Dr. Peter Hahn, history professor and the Divisional Dean of Arts and Humanities at The Ohio State University. As a research scholar, Hahn's research has been supported by the J. William Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Office of United States Air Force History, and the U.S. Army Center of Military History, just to name a few. Let's welcome Dr. Hahn.
It is a true honor to be here today and to introduce our featured speaker, retired U.S. Army Colonel Dr. Peter Mansour. Dr. Mansour is the General Raymond E. Mason Jr. Chair of Military History at The Ohio State University and a military analyst for CNN. He assumed his academic position in September 2008 after a 26-year career in the U.S. Army, which culminated in his service as the executive officer to General David Petraeus, the commanding general of multinational force Iraq. A 1982 graduate of the United States Military Academy, Colonel Mansour commanded the 1st Brigade, 1st Armored Division, from 2003 to 2005, including 13 months of combat in Iraq. After relinquishing command, Colonel Mansour resided at the Council on Foreign Relations as a senior military fellow, and he served as the founding director of the U.S. Army and Marine Corps Counterinsurgency Center at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Dr. Mansour is the author of The GI Offensive in Europe, The Triumph of American Infantry Divisions, 1941 to 1945, winner of the Society for Military History Distinguished Book Award, and the Army Historical Society Distinguished Book Award in 2000. Also of Baghdad at Sunrise, a brigade commander's war in Iraq, winner of the Ohio Anna Library Association Nonfiction Book of the Year Award in 2009, and of Surge, My Journey with General David Petraeus and the Remaking of the Iraq War, a finalist for the inaugural 2014 Guggenheim Lehrman Military History Prize. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the stage Dr. Peter Mansour.
Well, thank you, Peter, for that kind introduction and for all of you for that warm welcome. I didn't know if I was going to make it up on stage today after eating that donut, which I think was the size of a Humvee tire. I would especially like to recognize the many members of the Dunn family who are with us today. Their generosity has made possible a better future for generations of Buckeyes to come, and their friendship has certainly brightened my life. I know many of you are familiar with the Salvation Army's mission to help the most desperate and disenfranchised find or return to God's embrace by helping with food and shelter, those most basic needs of humanity. Many of you may not be as familiar with the Salvation Army's tradition of helping soldiers. The first volunteers of the Salvation Army assisted British troops in southern Africa during the Boer Wars of the late 1800s, providing food and medical care as well as religious counsel. American soldiers witnessed the selflessness and bravery of the Salvationists, or Sallies as they were known, as they set up makeshift canteens and drove ambulances on the battlefields of France during World War I. Many of these volunteers, for the first time in American history, were women. Captain Violet McAllister and her sister, Lieutenant Alice McAllister, joined the 1st Division, the Big Red One, of the American Expeditionary Forces in 1918. The women, both in their mid-20s at the time, were given nurses training and were sworn into the U.S. Army as privates so that they could serve in the combat zone legally. The sisters were among more than 200 Salvationists who boarded a steamship headed for war in France. Lieutenant Alice's diary, published as a booklet titled The Donut Sweethearts, chronicled the many hardships, but also the almost joyous determination of the Sallies to help the fighting men. The McAllisters served near the front lines from March 31st to November 1st, 1918, and again after the armistice from February 8th to September 26, 1919. They operated canteens that catered to American and French soldiers. Occasionally, their grace was even extended to German POWs. They unloaded supplies while in a village while it was under enemy fire. They slept in dugouts. They washed blood off the faces of the wounded, offering water to those who could drink and moistening the lips of those who could not. Violet and Alice entertained soldiers with their guitars, playing and singing familiar hymns. Every day they prepared meals. When they found that their choices were limited, and they wanted to give the soldiers variety, the ladies found a way to procure fresh fish and meat for the Army. They bought it from the Navy. We'll forgive them anyway. And at each of their posts, the sisters made the Sally's signature donuts. The dedication of volunteers like the McAllisters and hundreds of others was eventually recognized by none other than President Franklin D. Roosevelt. In 1941, as the United States was headed into another global war, he appointed a coalition of volunteer organizations, including the Salvation Army, to found the United Service Organizations. The USO continued the tradition of the Sallies, providing comfort to uniformed service members with food, entertainment, and a spiritual connection to home. Now, many of you here know Donald Dunn, the head of the family the Salvation Army in Central Ohio honors today, as a successful Columbus businessman and community leader and philanthropist. But I'd like to share with you another side of Donald, the story of Staff Sergeant Donald Dunn, acting leader of 2nd Platoon, G Company, 86th Mountain Infantry, who led an assault on Hill 775 in the northern Apennine Mountains in Italy on April 14th and 15th, 1945. Donald had not asked for the job, but faced with a new second lieutenant who was going to get all of his men killed, Donald went to his company commander, Captain Ridgway Faust, and had the lieutenant quietly transferred to a Graves registration unit. That was the good news. The bad news was that Staff Sergeant Dunn was now the senior leader left in the outfit and the new platoon leader. That made him in charge of his men, like it or not. The final offensive of the 5th U.S. Army into the Po River Valley that ended World War II in Italy began on April 14, 1945. Staff Sergeant Dunn's platoon endured significant shelling that day and into the evening, but it was the attack the next day that would forever define Donald's life. In mid-afternoon, Captain Faust ordered 2nd Platoon to seize Hill 775, a nondescript piece of high ground that was just another of the many hills leading to the Po River Valley and victory. The attack began at 4 p.m. with an artillery barrage, after which Staff Sergeant Dunn led his men across a narrow valley and onto the slopes of the hill. 1/3 of the way up the hill, the platoon came under machine gun fire from the front and sniper fire from behind. 3 soldiers were killed. Most of the remainder were wounded. Staff Sergeant Dunn took a bullet to the chest, an inch closer to the heart, and he would have met his former lieutenant at the Graves registration outfit. He didn't expect to survive the mission. "This will be my last statement," he recalled thinking that day. But if he was going to die, he was going to die leading his men to the top of the hill. Summoning the deepest reservoirs of courage and strength, the wounded staff sergeant led his men to the hill's crest, forcing the Germans to retreat. Something Donald doesn't talk about without prompting is a silver star pin he wears on his lapel, earned on that April day in Italy 70 years ago in action against the enemy. Upon his return to that battlefield more than 65 years later, he recalled the killing, the screaming, the fighting, and the sacrifice of good men, such as his best friend, Harding Shelby. These memories are difficult to relive, but for future generations to understand the indelible impact of war, Donald has come to understand the importance of sharing his experiences with others. This imperative continues to be true today. The experiences of U.S. forces in Iraq and Afghanistan since 9/11 have highlighted the mental and emotional demands of counterinsurgency warfare on American soldiers and their families. As a brigade commander in Baghdad in 2003 and 2004, I was not immune to the impact of stress on my mental well-being. During one particularly difficult mission on Christmas Eve in 2003, we lost the brigade command sergeant major, Eric Cook, my closest companion in the unit, to a roadside bomb attack on a convoy in which I was traveling. Needless to say, when I finally went to bed many hours later after the mission was completed, I found it difficult to sleep. The one time I dozed off, I awoke suddenly from a nightmare, jumped out of bed, and crashed into the table on the other side of the tent. Throughout that year, and even for a short time after redeployment, stress would occasionally manifest itself in the form of nightmares. After our return to Germany, my sympathetic wife got used to my occasional complaints about the ceiling fan that kept trying to attack us. After a few months, these dreams faded. But repeated combat tours and the stress of fighting 2 wars in the difficult geographic and climatic conditions of the Middle East and South Asia have presented unique demands on American military forces and their families. Military leaders are increasingly concerned about the psychological toll of these wars on their subordinates. The impact of combat stress on military personnel affects the effectiveness of U.S. forces in combat and exacts a lasting toll on many veterans long after they have returned to civilian life. Some veterans return to civilian life more easily than others. Donald Dunn came home from World War II and started a family and a business and became a leader in our community. But others need more help in the transition. Some mental health experts believe that for those who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, especially those who served multiple tours, it's not a matter of if they have post-traumatic stress disorder, but to what degree. Employment, housing, and education are imperatives for those whose service has ended. Access to social services, to medical care and counseling must be available to all who earned it. And that's why organizations like the Salvation Army, along with business and community leaders such as yourselves, must make veterans' issues a priority. Not only do we have a moral obligation to assist the men and women who risked everything and endured months, even years of combat to defend this nation, but the future of an all-volunteer military force is dependent on the care and dignity with which we treat those who have borne the burden of battle, as well as their spouses and children. The work of the Salvation Army and other United Service organizations is crucial in this regard, and it is why the Dunn family's contributions to these causes merit our recognition today. Today, we honor the Dunn family for their outstanding support for the many programs of the Salvation Army, an organization committed to the safety and the well-being of our most vulnerable neighbors, including veterans and their families. And we join them in encouraging others to help veterans much as the Sallys did, with courage, commitment, and spiritual comfort. Thank you.
Doctor, thank you so much for your insight. We are so glad that you're here, and may I say thank you for your service. Thank you very, very much. I am happy and proud to be on stage with Dr. Mansour to present this year's Need Knows No Season Award. Now, we have many, many examples of people and companies committed to the Salvation Army. They step up their support each and every year. And that's why we have the Need Knows No Season Award. And this year, the Salvation Army is honoring the Dunn family and Plaskolite. The Salvation Army in Central Ohio created the Need Knows No Season Award to honor an individual, corporation, or organization that has demonstrated an unselfish desire, willingness, and long-term commitment to helping members of our community who are in need. The award is presented with hope, faith, and love to those who have done the most for those who need our help the most. The Salvation Army has bestowed this award on, just to name a few, my favorite senator, U.S. Senator John Glenn, Nationwide, Barbara and Al Seamer, Marcy and Bill Ingram, Cindy Monroe and 31 Gifts, and Jeff Edwards. Dr. Mansour.
And today we are proud to honor the Dunns and Plaskolite Incorporated for their service to our country, for investing in the Salvation Army's success, and for inspiring others to protect and defend our most vulnerable neighbors, including veterans and their families. After Donald returned to the United States to resume studies at Wesleyan, he married Mary Elizabeth Altmeyer in 1948. They settled in Columbus and started a family of 5 children, Bob, Andrew, Jim, Gardner, and Nancy, now Mrs. George Byers III. In 1950, Donald became an investor in a small plastic manufacturing company that made drinking straws. Within the first year, he assumed sole ownership of Plaskolite, which grew from its modest beginnings to become by far the largest manufacturer of acrylic sheeting in America, with 6 plants and a workforce of 600 men and women. The family has used their good fortune to help many in our community. Andy Dunn has served on the Salvation Army Advisory Board, and Plaskolite is a faithful contributor of service and resources. The Dunn family supports more than 50 nonprofit organizations in our community, including the United Way of Central Ohio, Mental Health America, Franklin County, Pro Musica, Melissa's House, the American Cancer Society, the Columbus Museum of Art, and the Ohio State University, and many, many more. The recent establishment of the Donald G. and Mary A. Dunn Chair in Military History at The Ohio State University has solidified the school's reputation as the top military history program in the nation and arguably in the world. This gift will reverberate down the generations as students learn all of the aspects that have shaped mankind, including the horrific aspects of warfare, which we need to study and which their gift will help us do in the future. In short, the Dunn family and Plaskolite have made our community a much better place. Please join me in welcoming Andy and Diane Dunn to the stage to accept, on behalf of the entire Dunn family and Plaskolite, the 2015 Salvation Army Need Knows No Season Award.
This is intimidating, and that's not my script. Oh, brother. No, I'm just kidding. I want to thank all of you for coming today, my family and friends and employees, and it's my honor to accept this award on behalf of the Dunn family and Plaskolite. We have been involved with the Salvation Army for many years, and it is an organization that we are proud to support. We know our donations will stay in Columbus and help thousands of people in Central Ohio. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to the Dunn family and the folks at Plaskolite. I have to tell you, Diane, Andy's wife, was a Columbus City Schools teacher for 30-some years. So I think we need to give it up for her service as well. You know, the Salvation Army has a long history of helping veterans, as we have learned. Veterans don't always have someone to take them through step by step of their eligible benefits. The Salvation Army, however, is there to make certain that our veterans don't fall through the cracks.
When I joined the United States Army, I was proud to serve my country. I considered it an honor to be a part of protecting and defending our freedom. Unfortunately, because of an injury, I was discharged from the Army in 2007. When I became pregnant with my son Timothy, it was a high-risk pregnancy, and I was laid off from my job. Things started to become financially difficult, and I lost our apartment. Thanks to the Salvation Army, they stepped in to make sure my family did not end up on the streets. They helped us get into temporary housing, and then helped to secure a permanent apartment for my family. The Salvation Army went above and beyond by also making certain we had furniture and groceries until we were stabilized. The Salvation Army not only gave my family the help we needed at the time, but they gave us hope.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Murphy, and these are my children, Jalen, Jacob, and Timothy.
As you heard, I was in a very difficult situation, being pregnant with Timothy and losing my home at the same time. Today, we are a happy family. Currently, I am enrolled in college and working on my bachelor's degree in the science of psychology. I can tell you that the Salvation Army is awesome. I wanted to be here today to tell each and every person in this room that your investment in the Salvation Army is worth it. It helps families like mine to survive in a bad situation and make sure we have what we need until we can get back on our feet. With the Salvation Army, I know that I'm not alone. They have put me in the right direction. I am grateful for their help and their compassion. It never really thought I would need help, but now I realize that everyone needs some type of help at some point in their lives. Thank you.
Hi, guys. How y'all doing? Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was really inspiring. All right, now you guys, I know you're real shy and, really, I know you're not. Hey, I've spent a lot of time with you over the last 24 hours, Jacob. I know you, okay? So tell me, you're in a new house now, right? All right, so what's your favorite thing about your new house?
Our beds.
Your beds? You too, Jacob?
Our new bed.
You got new beds. Excellent. I just got a new bed recently. Now, where did you get your new beds?
Salvation Army.
The Salvation Army gave you new beds? You like your new beds?
Yeah.
They're comfortable?
Yeah.
All right, so what do you want to say to the Salvation Army?
Thank you, Salvation Army.
All right, that is Jalen and Jacob. They rehearsed. They did good, Jennifer. Oh, wait, poor Timothy. Timothy, you've got something to say? Okay, never mind. That's what I thought. Thank you so much to the Murphy family. Thank you, guys. And you look really pretty. Bye, Jacob. Good Lord. Good luck, Jennifer. He was so funny. He just wanted to hold the microphone. That's all he wanted. He was all over the place last night in rehearsal, but they did a great job. Let's hear it for the Murphy family one more time. Oh, goodness, and this is why I don't have children. Okay, I'm back. The late management expert, Peter Drucker, deemed the Salvation Army the most effective charity in the United States for its ability to focus, measure results, harness dedication, and put money to maximum use. And I am very pleased to announce that each one of you today, you will have the opportunity to put your charitable dollar to maximum use because of the wonderful people at American Electric Power, Fifth Third Bank, L Brands Foundation, Stanley Steamer, Judith and Kim Swanson, 31 Gifts, and Jenny and Doug Wyatt. They've all come together to offer all of you a special matching gift opportunity. Together, they are making an extra contribution of up to $50,000. So let's give them a round of applause for making this contribution possible. Now, you're playing a role in all this, okay? Because for each and every gift we receive today, those companies are going to match that gift buck for buck, dollar for dollar. Now, there are envelopes at your place setting. We're going to make it real easy for you. Use those envelopes. And I encourage each and every one of you, after the stories you've heard here today and the reputation you know of the Salvation Army, do what you can to help the Salvation Army. This is a great opportunity. So get out your checkbooks, your credit cards. We love plastic. And let's turn this $50,000 into $100,000. That's 100,000 smackaroos. Because with your extra support today, the Salvation Army will continue to help families like Jennifer Murphy and Jacob. And I think we can all agree that the Salvation Army's programs are doing some of our community's most important work. So, I know you've got some decisions to make, just how many zeros you're going to put down on your envelope. While you're making that decision, let's enjoy a special performance, and we'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes.
God bless America, land that
stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. And God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, God bless America. Sing along if you want to. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. And God bless America, my home, sweet home. And God bless America, my home, sweet home.
The historic and memorable relationship of the Salvation Army with America's fighting men and women has continued through every armed conflict this nation has fought, always going over the top. And what of the Salvation Army today? That same sense of compassion, that same selfless dedication and devotion to people in need are the hallmarks of their creed. The Salvation Army stands for hope, its founder William Booth said. When every other light is extinguished and every other star has gone down, this one beacon shines steadily and clearly from the darkened sky, he said. If I could only get to the Salvation Army, they will do something for me. Throughout the entire world, from the killing fields of Rwanda to the snow-covered villages of genocide-ravaged Bosnia, this Army's mission is summarized in a single word: others. That's their motto, their mission, and their commitment.
We want to say thank you again to our special musicians, to Sergeant Lynch and to Master Sergeant Smith. Did I get it right? Thank you very much, gentlemen. I have never heard God Bless America whistled before, so this was a first. Props to you. Big ups. Can you do that to military men? Big ups. Yeah. You leave me hanging. You want to leave me hanging, huh? All right, thank you. I really enjoyed spending part of my afternoon with you. It keeps me out of the office, away from the bosses, and I get to spend it with some of my favorite folks, and those are the folks with the Salvation Army. We want to say congratulations to the Dunn family and to Plaska Light. Congratulations again to Andy and Diane. Thank you to Dr. Mansour for being with us today and sharing his insight and his experiences. Thank you especially to the Edwards Foundation, to American Electric Power, to Plaska Light, Stanley Steamer, the Steamer Foundation, and Cindy Monroe and all those fine folks at 31 Gifts for all your incredible support. We want to say happy birthday, happy 150th birthday to the Salvation Army. And may I, on October 21st, be the first to say, Merry Christmas, everybody. See you later.
Thank you for supporting the Salvation Army in Central Ohio. With your help, we will be doing the most good for another 150 years. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Well, I'm headed down south from the land of the pines, thumbing my way into North Carolina, staring down the road and praying to God I see headlights. Well, I made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers. I'm hoping for a rally I can see my baby tonight. So now rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. From the cold, off of New England, I was born to be a fiddler in an old-time string band. My baby plays the guitar, I play the mandolin now. Well, this North Country weather keeps getting me down. Lost my money playing poker, so I have to leave town. But I ain't turning back to living that old life no more. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Well, rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. Running down south, out of Roanoke, I caught a trucker out of Philly, had a nice long talk, but he was heading west from the Cumberland Gap to Johnson City, Tennessee. Now I gotta move on before the sun. Heard my baby calling my name, and I know that she's the only one. And if I die in Raleigh, at least I will die free. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me.